24% of people reported owning a Louis Vuitton item in 2022. People that are making 6K a month have an item. Why designer brands keep the middle class in poverty? The marketing and economics behind it. So people are under the impression that wealthy people are all about designer. I know some wealthy people that wear designer, not many. Most of the wealthy people I know don't wear designer. I know one kid I grew up with, his family didn't. They were French family. His family didn't even put on heat in the winter because they were that frugal. They were saving their money. They didn't put on heat. I think they were a family of 6 children. They used to shop at the thrift store. Black people are like ashamed to shop at a thrift store. They think like people are gonna judge them. When in reality, white people be shopping at the thrift store, and guess what? Those people now, they are landlords, and they own what? Probably 20 doors, as they say in the industry. 20. They have 20 properties, 20 rental properties. The home they live in, they're living in a house that's at least $3 million, $2.5, $3 million house, right? These are people that didn't used to put on heat, and their children wore clothing from the thrift shop. But y'all wearing designer. You got no house. You don't own a house. Got no assets. We're in design. From a young age, many of us have memories of walking in the mall down Fifth Avenue, staring at glamorous designer stores. Not very relatable. Even I don't have those memories. Walking down Saks Fifth. What, are you nuts? There were so many options. Gucci, Louis, Dior, Versace, Prada. $3,000 for an Rick Owens jacket. I never even heard of that brand. The assumption is that they were made for the top 1% earners. However, recent trends in marketing strategies and demographic polls show that designer companies actually target middle-class consumers. In this article, we will uncover the economic and marketing strategies of designer companies. So this is painting it like, middle class, but let's talk about the lower class, right? If they're telling you outwardly right here that designer brands market to middle class people rather than upper class, that tells you right there. Designer industries have played their cards right in maximizing their profits. They hold themselves to the highest standards, refusing discount anything. In doing so, it attracts celebrities to their product, which outreaches to middle class consumers. There you go. Because in American culture, people worship celebrities. So the celebrity got on a Hermes belt. I gotta buy a Hermes belt. Chief Keef got a Gucci buckle, Ferragamo buckle. I gotta get a Ferragamo buckle. $1,000 belt. A friend of mine, a young guy, Jewish guy actually, Moroccan Jew, he had a Ferragamo belt. Was it Ferragamo or Louis? Yeah, Ferragamo, because it has the 2 circles, the 2 rings. Let me pull this up. A lot of y'all know what that looks like. When I'm talking to FBA, I know y'all know the designer. Y'all don't know Laos, but you know designers. That's what a Ferragamo belt looks like. So he had this belt, and this belt is so obnoxious. This buckle is so intrusive. It ended up pinching a nerve in his upper leg. When he would sit down, it would pinch a nerve in his upper leg. And this dude ended up going to the hospital. The circulation to one of his testicles was cut off, and one of his testicles ended up inflating to the size of a grapefruit from a Ferragamo belt. So imagine you spend what are we here? This is a men's, but that's a thin one. $700 US on a belt just for it to give you medical issues, just for it to cut off your circulation. And Ferragamo, hey, this is I'm not going after y'all. Y'all got great quality leather products. This was an isolated incident. It is, how do you say, anecdotal. I'm not saying that it will happen. Just putting that out there. These people are telling you straight up that it's not made for rich people. New York, the monthly middle class income in 2019 was $6,283. Monthly middle class income. Okay. Is that 2 people? Okay. Compared to the United States in 2018, this income range, 24% of people reported owning a Louis Vuitton item. Imagine 24% of people reported owning a Louis Vuitton item in 2022. People that are making 6K a month have an item. Cheapest Louis Vuitton item you're gonna get is what? Like a freaking hat? Get a Louis Vuitton hat for maybe like $350 or something or more. So you own one Louis item and you making 3K. You making 3K each, or let's say it's one person even making 6K a month. That ain't no money. You making, after taxes, you buying Louis. You're not even cracking 100K. You buying Louis. But you see that a lot in the Black community because Blacks like something called conspicuous consumption, which is they consume things that are seen. Whereas other cultures, they will consume things that are not necessarily seen. They'll buy, things that are going to help them make money, things that'll help them build a brand, things that are useful. Other cultures, they'll buy a computer, or they'll buy, if they're in photography, they'll buy a new camera because it's for their business. It's something they could even write off on a tax because it's a business expense, right? They're not buying a Lambo, right? If you made $100,000, or if you made $250,000 a year, you can't afford a Lambo. People think like, oh, I'm gonna make 100K a year, I'm gonna have a Bentley. You can't buy a Bentley making 100K a year. You can't. You can, I guess, but you shouldn't. You should not buy a Bentley even making 300K a year. You shouldn't. A lot of people do. There are a lot of people that make 300K a year that will buy a Bentley, but it's not a wise financial decision, realistically, because a lot of these people, they end up getting in over their head, right? So the more money you make, the more you decide to spend. So going back to that whole, oh, I'm going to win the lottery, I'm going to strike it rich, this and that. Once you have that money, like let's say you start making 100K a month. I see this a lot more with women where they think, oh, I'm going to hit this number and I'm going to be set. No, you won't, because you're going to make 100K a month. You're going to spend 120K a month. So you could have $5 million in your hand. You could easily buy something for $6 million. You could have $100 million in your hand. Go buy a B-2 bomber. You'll be in debt real quick. $2 billion freaking warplane, right? So it's not how much money you got, it's a matter of money management. There are people that make 50K a year that are living better, living more comfortably. I'm not saying in terms of luxury comforts, but they're living more comfortably. Their bills are all paid, right? They're making 50K. And then there are people, actually, there's a statistic that I saw recently, and I wonder how many of these are black women, because black women like to talk about their PhDs, black American women, I'm talking about. Like talk about their PhDs and their career. 100K living paycheck to paycheck. CNBC. Here's why even Americans making more than 100K live paycheck to paycheck. Can you imagine that? Here's why Americans can't keep money in their pockets even when they get a raise. It seems like your paycheck disappears quickly when it hits your bank account. You're not alone. Get ready for this. More than 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck as of September 23. Even people in higher income brackets are affected. More than half of Americans earning over 100,000 per year live paycheck to paycheck. How does that happen, you may ask? Because their eyes are bigger than their appetite. Once they start making 100K a year, they're spending 120. Credit cards maxed out. People, they got 5 million to their name, they're getting a $7 million house. You see this a lot more in the black community, FBA community. See it a lot more. So when you have money, you want to live a lavish life, you start to see your overheads, your expenses get wild. They get wild. Blacks are too concerned with showing their wealth to everybody, which anyone who's wealthy knows that that's the last thing you want to do. Looking rich is dangerous. People trying to hit a lick on you, people are jealous. People just think, oh, I'm going to take all these trips. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. Yo, everybody be hating. People hate on people that don't even got money. So imagine when you get money, how people are going to hate. A lot of people think they're going to move out of a black neighborhood. And that's why I'm going back to these FBAs. They think that America is their bread and butter. It's their savior. America, America, America. At the end of the day, get some money and see how America treats you. You a black man in America with money? Let me see where you live. You think that it's going to be black coming for you quick because, you got a lot of people saying, oh, blacks is all criminals. Yeah. Get some money and see how fast a white person breaks into your house, how fast a white person tries to skimp you on a deal. And again, this is not something that's inherent to whites. I'm not saying that it's because they're white they're doing that. I'm just saying jealousy is a bitch. That's why I try my best to downplay everything. In my real life, in the real world, I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm not trying to flex. The people that flex, they're the ones that get picked off. They're the ones that get robbed. They're the ones that have a miserable lifestyle. They're the ones that attract women like Shannon Sharp, right? Which, I mean, granted, he's an athlete. It's not very easy for him to hide his wealth. But these are the types of people that come around you when you're wealthy. You're not sure who is there for you and who is there for your money. So these are problems that the wealthy face. You know, that's why I don't get behind these dating coaches that say, "Oh, you need to get a bag, you need to this, you need to work on yourself as a man. You need to work on yourself. You got to understand, yo, being a man is it's about being with your own thoughts, being in solitude, meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. It's not all about, oh, I'm gonna have my friends, I'm gonna go on the yacht. You want to get real money, you gotta get locked in and you make it happen. Why isn't Akon doing African music? Well, Akon being African, any music he does will be African. But jokes aside, why? Because the same reason that you have blacks like Officer Tatum or Hodge twins who make seemingly white supremacist content. There's your answer. Why doesn't Akon do African music? Because he's in the US and he's selling to y'all. So it's not about what music he makes. It's about what are you people consuming? So you got to watch what you're consuming. If you have a problem with Africans, which you should not, then you should be consuming FBA music. But hey, guess what? FBA music ain't all that great. I'm not saying it's not talented. I'm saying the messaging is not an uplifting message. And it was not always like this because the old hip hop, the old funk, soul, right? Jazz, this was uplifting music. And that's why the music industry changed hands because y'all didn't build no wealth. Y'all didn't get these labels, right? Y'all could have built labels, could have built media companies. Nah, you were too busy out there buying Gucci belts and tricking it off on white girls. So that's why you don't have a music label. And that's why you guys got FBA, lovely FBA music like Sexy Red, right? I understand there are people like Beyonce, there are people, Kelly Rowland who are doing good music. I'm not saying there isn't that. I always have to give these caveats because people are gonna freak out, right? People will still freak out even with the caveat. I'm just saying, look at the music that is pushing in your community. Look at Lil Nas X. You think that was going on in the good old days of America? Y'all have lost control.